Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, so I hope everyone's been studying the diagram here. And the arrows should say 6 feet on them. So you're between everybody.
Or 2 meters for the rest of the world.
You know what? I think it's a little more than 6 feet, because if you lay a person down and he's approximately 6 feet, you got more like 7 to 8 feet, which is better.
Yeah, no, it's pretty close to 6 feet. Let me measure this guy here. I'm going to.
Oh yeah, I guess
the guy is 4¼ inches high, and no, it's exactly the height of this guy. The red guy, if he's 6 feet tall, the space in front of him, in the space in front of him is 6 feet. The space behind him is 6 feet. The space, actually, the space between the two left characters are small. Sorry.
So you know what's really cool? The door behind a woman there is usually what, 72 inches, isn't it?
Potentially, yeah.
Okay.
So is that?
No, doors aren't 72 inches. 72 inches is 6 feet. Doors would have to be like 80 inches.
What is that? Is that 8 feet?
72 inches is 6 feet.
7 feet. So if you get that door, all right. Anyway, too precise. Okay.
Whoever did it did a good job. We'll just say that. It looks like
I think they did great.
The door is, interestingly enough, is 6 feet tall compared to the man.
80 inches high is what Rob
Except the door is further back, so perspective maybe makes it taller.
Could be.
Like those skyscrapers definitely are more than 12 or 15 feet tall.
Lisa says that she's in the front there, and I'm in the red, and I'm yelling at her to turn around.
Coughing on me.
No, you're coughing, John. That's
Thank
coughing.
you, Arnold.
You see,
Thank
look
you.
at little virus. Hey, I think you should get rolling.
I guess that's particulate matter that's blowing out of his face, isn't it?
It's just a public service announcement.
John, do you see me there? Do you see me?
Yeah,
no.
You're the one.
Because I'm in California and I'm shelter in place. I'm
you're
inside the building.
You're in the window, up looking out.
I'm watching you guys walk around and say, "You
get back inside.
Get inside."
There you go. All right. Well, hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon.
Oh, I love the number. I love the number.
This is the ClarionLive weekly webinar. See it, learn it, share it. This number, webinar number 555. Today is March 27, 2020. Clarion date is 80078. All webinars are recorded and available at ClarionLive.com. Please join us on Skype, and we are currently at this very moment live streaming on YouTube.
I'm still having a hard time getting 2020 going.
A hard time getting it going.
And we're 3 months in already. And
yeah, we're
2020.
The rest of the world's moving along. Catch up. We have hosts for today's webinar. Arnold is with us. Hello, Arnold.
I had to cancel my trip to Hawaii.
Did you? That's sad.
Yeah, that's too bad.
I had to cancel a trip to Africa. I'm sad that you're missing your Hawaii trip.
Hey, how is it down there in South Africa, Bruce?
It's really quiet today. It's quiet. Because we're in lockdown. So my motto is better locked down than locked up. So stay inside. And they won't have to lock us up.
Yeah.
So if I had gone to Africa, I'd be locked up right now. Or locked down.
You'd be locked down?
Locked down.
Which, to be fair, we'd all be in the hotel. It'd be like, right, go downstairs and let's conference.
How could we even do that?
Not conference. No, this conference is not for a weekend.
Yeah, it's next weekend.
That's all next weekend. We would have had to webinar the whole thing from our hotel rooms in Africa. Well, it didn't happen, so we got plans. Anyway, I'm here. Lisa's here. Hello, Lisa.
Hello, everybody.
Bruce, as you can tell, is here.
No football, Lisa.
No spring football.
new. And Mr. Hansen is here still.
Hanson,
Hello.
the pianist.
The pianist. Yes.
Yes.
The piano player. The ivory tickler.
You were supposed to hook that piano up and play background music.
John, can you do me a favor?
What's that?
Next week, can you put 2 diamond earrings on Mike?
Yeah, I have some time, so yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
We have rules. Skip all the ones before because the same rule as it was last week is this week. Just
Like
flat.
Flatten that curve.
Flat the curve. Most important rule in the world at the moment.
You know what? If I had to say anything, I listened to a 1-hour thing by a doctor in New York, and he is all day long for the last 3 weeks working with only COVID infected people. He says 4 things actually, but number 1, wash your hands, don't touch your face, and if you touch anything, use Perel or something to wipe your hands. Like if you open the door, wash your hand, wipe your hands, and then social distancing. So if you take care of those things, you normally should be okay.
Yeah.
There's more, of course, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're living with somebody with it, you just got to isolate. So anyway, he was really calm about it. And he says, I work with them all day long and we haven't gotten sick, but we follow the rules and they're really simple. But he says, like everybody else, like me, I'm constantly touching my face, like scratching my nose or.
Well, I was in the grocery store the other day. My nose got so itchy, and I just said, okay, I can't do it. I can't touch my nose, and it took me about 10 minutes before my nose stopped itching. I just started walking on, going, don't rub my nose, don't rub my nose. But eventually, my brain said, oh, I'm not rubbing my nose. Cool.
The other thing he said is you don't really need to wear a mask, but wearing the mask, you don't need to wear a N95, unless you're a health person. But if you wear the mask, it kind of like reminds you, don't touch your face. Yeah, more than anything else, because it's all about droplets, not aerosol.
Yeah. The other option is if you have gloves on. If you wear gloves, has the same concept. It sort of reminds you not to touch your face because there's something on your hands. I figure what you should get is some of those big Mickey hands, because that way you're really reminded there's stuff you couldn't be doing with your hands.
I have Mickey hands.
And if you have a beard like John and I do not have, we don't rub our beards, and like kind of people like
stroke it contemplatively.
Not good. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. Keep distance. Be safe, so we can keep going. Alrighty, John.
Right, as we move
on. That curve. Okay.
Flatten the curve. Right, so what's up today? Andy Wilton is with us today. He has a new calendar control.
Andy, what happened to Boris?
Hi. What happened to who?
Boris Johnson and your Prince Charles both are infected.
Yep. It's certainly doing the rounds.
They must have been social.
Yep.
Okay. We're glad you're here.
Well, I'll through to be in South Africa, but if we can't be there, then here's a good second.
All right, so coming next, so April 3rd, I think we've had a couple launches of Updated, but this will be for real, maybe.
Oh, for real, right.
Probably.
No, it's not for real. It's for reals.
For reals. Yes. Well, I can tell you where we are. I spent most of this week working on it, which is good. Which is because then you're focused on it, right? Instead of working a couple hours here and there. So I've been focused on it. I have the next several days just booked just to do this. And one of the hardest things was the subscription thing. We got it all figured out. And it's being plugged into our website. And part of the presentation next week, I'll talk about subscriptions and how we did it and what we used and that kind of stuff.
Hey, John. Don't you think one of the, programming and developing is kind of, it's fun and stuff. It's building the infrastructure that could be a pain in the what.
No kidding. No kidding. Well, there's so much things that are a pain in the what. But the thing is, it's all fun, so it kind of offsets all the rest of it.
Aren't we the lucky guys?
I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's the feature set. Building the program.
Feature set.
Yes. I mean, we had a simple idea, right? A few months ago and started it when I started the project. We started the project. And then you start to use it and you go, this could really use a button here so I could get to the folder where these things are. So I got to add the button. And it's like, that's really nice, but I got to save these settings somewhere. And I don't like where I'm saving them now. I need to save them in a better place. And I should export these things. I should import these things. I should do this. It keeps going and going. But now it's in debugging. I got feature set locked. It's debugging. And that should go pretty quickly. And then the website's looking pretty good. Don't go there. Don't do anything there.
Don't touch it.
Stay away from the website.
Socially distance yourself from the website.
I know. I didn't bother to hide anything, so it's all you can see subscriptions and stuff are up there. Now everybody's gonna go, right? Just don't do anything. I don't think you can do anything because it's nothing will really happen. But anyway, it's coming along. So I'll cover the program itself, but also how we did stuff and how we did the subscription, because I think that's an interesting thing. If you're doing SaaS or something, you might want to automate that stuff, right? Arnold, you do your stuff manually, don't you? You don't really have a website where people can sign up or manage subscriptions or anything like that, do you?
I don't want them to.
There's that. You might not want them to.
Well, because I'm signing up companies, not people.
Yes. So that's good, because not anybody can randomly come to your site and just sign up for the thing. So that's good. But I do want people to come to the website and sign up. So I've been working that out, and there's some really nice products out there that help you do this stuff. So we'll talk about that too. Okay, anyway, so for reals, probably, maybe next week. But then we got the 10th and the 17th and the 14th. That's wrong. It should be 24th.
You can put me down on one of those. Like, I have no idea what I'll talk about, but between now and the 10th is 2 weeks, so my brain will notice something and we'll go, this is interesting. We should talk about this.
There you go. All right.
Quite possibly, I might have an update too, depending on the content of today.
Right. Okay, so I updated this page. Isn't that logo cool? I did that for the videos. It's been postponed. We got the October 8th through 11th, and Bruce can talk about this a little bit. I think he's pretty much got that locked down.
John, postponed is better than canceled, okay?
Oh, definitely. We don't want to cancel it. We want to postpone it.
Deferred.
Because we want to do it.
Deferred, yes.
Everything is contingent, of course, on how the world's doing, I suppose.
Yep. I mean, we've got these dates, and they're sorted. So, assuming we are traveling again, 8th to 11th October. If we're not traveling,
there are still airlines.
Well, yeah, I mean, there will still be some airlines. I'm not sure they'll all be here, but it will be interesting to see, because if we're not traveling by October, that's quite a thing, eh?
That would be.
That'd be quite a thing. So
we might be into the second wave by then, though. So.
Well, there's always that option.
Or something.
So let's. I think I'm quietly confident that by October you will at least be able to get here. We will at least be able to do the sessions, all those kind of good things. I don't know what it's going to look like, but in terms of travel, but yeah, we October 8 to 11 is the current dates. So feel free to put that in your diary and keep it open. And we'll see you here. Yeah, there is limited space left, so if those dates look so much more appealing to you than April did, and you say, oh, well, now I'm going to Cape Town, then you might want to let me know, because there's a finite amount of space in the room, and we were getting really close to that limit. So
should we start booking hotel rooms too, or hold off on that for now?
Yeah, you don't need to book the hotel room yet because I need to still get links from the hotel themselves.
Got it.
Obviously, they're in lockdown, so yeah, it's going to be another month before we get some of the paperwork done and the links done and all that kind of thing. But I've been told there's plenty of rooms in that window. So there we go.
Lovely.
Yeah, right now it seems like I'm not going anywhere for the rest of my life. I'm only gonna be here. That's it. But
It
it's
is
not. I mean,
really quiet here today. That's what's really
Yeah.
noticeable. It's the lack of traffic noise. It is like I went outside and stuck my head over the wall, and you look around. There's no one. Like we're in a city, and you can look out. There's no one there. There's not a single soul on the roads. There's on the pathways, nothing. It's really quite.
Are you allowed out at all for, say, like
Yeah.
walking pets and so on?
Yeah, look, I mean, there's the amount of misinformation and what information and whatever. Look, today was day 1, so I think everyone's been kind of like, okay, we'll stay home today. I suspect by day 14, people may be taking liberties. Essential services are still running. So shops, food shops, essential goods are still running, which for us does not include smokes or drinks. No alcohol, no tobacco products. And we were talking about this on Wednesday, I think. In Canada and the US there, your tobacco products and alcohol are considered essential. So yeah, they're not essential, so you can't buy them. But yes, you are allowed to
try it.
go out. What have you got, Andy?
We've had a big sporting chain try saying that they're essential because they're offering exercise equipment.
I think it kind of they're missing the point of what the whole lockdown is supposed to be for. So yeah, so essential services are open and you can go grocery shopping and things like that. But it's for essentials only basically. Hardware stores are closed. I mean, pretty much all the stores are closed. It's just food stores that are open. And yeah, it is really, really quiet. It's amazing. Like I haven't heard a car all day. It's like, how many days can you say that? If you're not like out in the bush somewhere. I don't know.
But anyway, I know the world will start again. We'll all get back to semi-normal. Eventually we'll be back to normal. But I want to come to Africa. I want this all to be done.
Well, October, it looks good. I think it looks good for October.
Yeah, when I count down to the months to October, it sounds good to me too. All right, so announcements. We had a Noyantis user group meeting, and Andy's here. He can tell us what happened. Maybe.
Andy's here. I'm not sure he can tell you what happened. Yeah, I can't remember. My mind's gone blank. Sorry, completely blank.
There's always things that happen. So those are available on our YouTube stream if you want to find out what happened. You can go.
Legacy. We one of the things we did look at is the new report control file loading, as in loading from a file and a view, and we checked it was legacy compatible because we had a question mark over that, and we confirmed it was, of course, which we thought, but that was one of the things. We probably covered some other things, but I do remember us confirming that.
Excellent. And then there was an open webinar, and we took questions and we answered them. And then
we did.
We did. And then there was a NetTalk user group meeting, and that went for like an hour and a half. There was a lot of questions.
There were a lot of questions, not partly because we didn't have one last week, so I think there was a little bit of stored up. But we talked about how to change port numbers. We talked about conditional CSS. We talked about APIs and how to tweak them. We had a little discussion about Amazon. We had a little discussion about any text in a multi-site situation. Alejandro reported a bug. Rick asked about services. And Rich was asking about an API that's going to send out data in a CSV format. So, and then Mike finally got his multi-site thing almost sorted out.
Well, it's not quite working yet, but it's. I think it's still struggling with the certs. So we'll have to work on that a bit more.
Have you got your DNS set up now?
I do for a few of the sites, and so I haven't had a chance to test it again this morning, but I was pretty sure the DNSs were flowing through correctly from a bunch of places I checked, but it may be that the Let's Encrypt was still seeing the old address, possibly. So I haven't had a chance to check it this morning yet. Yeah.
The cunning thing in the log there is it'll tell you what Let's Encrypt is resolving the IP address to.
Okay, cool. So you will. I was taking a look at the debug log and the web log, and I haven't quite figured out what is pertinent information and what is noise. Lots of stuff in there.
There's only one line that matters, and that's the line that tells you what's wrong.
Exactly, and if I only knew which line that was.
It depends on what's wrong, which line is going to matter. You know,
quite.
So,
I understand.
Yeah. So it was quite a good long session.
There you go. And then next week, updated launch for Reels, probably. More likely than not.
There we go.
There we go. All right. So we have a feature presentation. Andy's with us. Andy, are you ready?
No, never ready.
Let the rapper begin. Hey, rapper.
All right.
All my days. Okay.
Here comes the screen. I know a couple of days ago, Andy said that the whole thing was in pieces. So we'll see if he got it all back together.
Yes. No. Okay. So obviously we should have been over in South Africa doing CIDC 2020, and one of the topics we were covering was some of the training on the calendar. Now, that's not gone ahead, so I thought I'd take the opportunity to do not just the planned upgrade to the calendar, but probably the biggest product upgrade we've done to any of our stuff so far. As John said a couple of days ago, it was in pieces, not working. I've put some of the pieces back together, which is good, but the update's going to have to be split into two, mainly because I want to get, some people are waiting for some of the features. So basically 4.13, which we're going to demonstrate some of today, will be released probably by Monday now. It's going to be by today, but I've got some issues on the example app. Plus I also want to do basically a bit of a shakedown of it, some optimization before you guys get your hands on it. So expect it Monday, maybe during our Monday webinar. We'll have it released, and then people can download, take a look, and we'll cover some of the changes in much more detail. And then following that, hence why we're saying, John, within the next couple of weeks, the follow-up, so it'll be 4.14, but I see it's really the same build, does A and B, two parts, if you will. Will be released. So I'm going to cover exactly what's going into this. Like I say, probably the biggest upgrade we've done of any product in totality. What's going to go into the version, and we'll demonstrate some of this today, and what's in the first release of it, and what's going into the second update, following in realistically probably a week and a half, couple of weeks. That sound like a plan? Does, yep. You get that silence, and I'm thinking, have I got to say all that again? Okay.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do, well, I'll tell you what. I'll read down the list of what's in this particular build, and Calendar is probably one of our more popular products. Yeah, probably one of the most. I can't categorically say it's number one, but it's probably in the top two. Okay, so coming in this next release, we have always tried to steer clear of writing any code for you. And what I mean by that is, let's jump into the current build that is out there now. So let's just look at that one. That will switch my Clarion build, which will use an older version of it, the released version of the template, if you will. And what we've always tried to do, as I say, is to try and steer away from your data I/O, because we all have different dictionary requirements, file driver requirements, naming conventions, indexes, so on and so forth. But with recent times, we've actually started to listen. Well, we always listen to you, but we started to enhance our products to actually do some of the data I/O. The report control was the first to get it, so now you can actually build. It's a list, it's a browse. It's a terrible name, that's what it is. But you can build that with no code and offer quite, or everything you can for the Clarion browse. Your related buttons, your insert, change, delete, your print, all the things you would expect, all without writing code. So we will have decided to do the same with the calendar. So previously, let's go down to a simple one. What you would have done is inserted basically the same code in many embed points. Well, sorry, similar code in many embed points. For example, why does your machine always go slower when you're online? So for example, when the calendar knows it needs data, it would basically call one of the data underscore methods. So for example, when you wanted to fetch a record, it would go here and pass you a couple of parameters, one being the event that it needs to fetch and the record ID of that event. And you would typically do some code like that, or if it was legacy, you'd have some kind of get command, maybe a SQL, you do a prop SQL, but whatever, you would have something to go and fetch the record. And the same with the likes of update and so on and so forth. And the main points you would do repeat over and over again would be these types of embed points and also these, which is when the calendar needs to synchronize data from and to different entities. So if you're updating the calendar, it needs to write it back to the file. So you would have some code in there to do this. And if you had updated the file, but you need to reflect that in the calendar, you would do something like so. Now I'm going to open that same procedure, but with the new template. So there we go. Okay, so into our simple calendar, and we'll take a look at the code. My machine, this is an half decent machine. That's going quite slow. Okay, you can see basically there's next to no code. There's only some code to handle what's happening on the right click, and actually that code will be disappearing because I'll go through the list in a second, but you will have the ability to specify those options in the template. So how did we do that? And if we go to our calendar now, you'll see you've got on the data source, previously you had link it to a list control, manually load the data and load it from a queue. Well, now you've got two extra options available to you. One is to load the group, load it from a group structure. So essentially you will still go and do your own data source on that, be it whatever, SQL, Outlook through some kind of MAPI interface, whatever, doesn't really matter. You would prime up a group and you can basically tell it to load from the group. Or we've got the new view/file. Now there's a few settings, and what I never realized 9, 10, 11 years ago 12 years ago when we did the calendar, what I never realized was a lot of you actually took our example dictionary in the update procedure, which was only ever really intended, in my naivety, to be a demonstration piece of software. You actually took that and brought that into your applications and made it your own, which is brilliant. That's excellent. So what we've done is made it easy for you to set the particular settings if you're using that type of structure. If you're not, that's no problem. It just means you've got a bit more typing to do. But if you are, then you've got a couple of extra buttons, so we can say we can see here that what file is it coming from, give you a little tip about loading, how it loads the data, and what key it would prefer. There is a slight change on that. You can join tables. So it might be maybe you've got your calendar events and you have some joins tables for the staff and so on, or the location of that particular event, that kind of thing. You can hot field in just like a browse. So imagine, if you will, because it's going to write a view at the back end, what it will do is write you the view with the joins and so on and so forth to actually populate the whole calendar. And then we come to the identity fields. So it needs to know which field you are using for various different entities for the calendar. So, and there are quite a few, as you can see. So to save you doing a lot of typing, we'll just give you a couple of handy buttons, which will go through. Oh, that's all right. Had me worried then. Which will go through and write those for you, so you can see. It's filled it in from the example. So if you are using that, this should help. So this is going to get its data from a table called events, and we can see that over in the other tables. Which key? What? Because every basically wants a unique identifier, which a lot of entities do. Like we mentioned the report control earlier and so on. They all want to be able to get back to some kind of uniqueness, so it can get back to what you know as record 123 and what it knows internally as whatever particular object it is. So it will want a unique field. And then if you are using multiple schedules, the schedule field and a date field. So let's just take a quick look at that. And now that calendar is there, it's populated. Before we got rid of these, actually, just making sure we was in the correct example application. But yes, basically, here are the events, but all of the actual loading is done ultra efficient. So what I mean by that is, if you are using multiple schedules, it will try and load just for the schedules that are currently on show, rather than if you've got many others. For example, what we mean by schedule is, open that twice, it could be different staff members. So for each day, you do have multiple staff members. It could be production lines, it could be anything you like. It's really just, these are internally known as schedules. So it's just multiple schedules. That's what we mean by that. Back to here. So what it does to load the data is it will loop through the activity schedules that are currently on view. If they're not on view, pointless loading the data for them, because that's just taking up time and resources for no gain. So it will loop through those, and for each one of those, it will loop through for the days that are currently on show. So from here, it will loop through from the 23rd through to the 27th. There is a setting on the date lookup, date picker, which can say don't just load for that. Maybe you want to, you're using the bold features you can see here, so load for the overall viewable range, which technically happens to be, if you look in the top left, it's the 24th of February, and it's all the way through to the 7th of June, the bottom right. So you've got a choice on the template to say which ones you want to load for, but it will load just for that range. So it tries to do the loading as efficient as it can. So loading the minimum amount of data to get everything the user actually needs. Does that in the first pass. And the second pass is if you're using recurring events, and then it will basically try, it's even got some optimized code in there as well, to try and load just the minimum amount of recurring events. But you can't take the date into account because, of course, it might be a daily recurrence, which actually started 2 years ago, that kind of thing. So that's the first major update, which hopefully you'll find pretty handy. And as we can see, that just eliminates so much code. Technically, it's still very similar. If we take a quick look, not that we want to get our hands dirty too much on this, but if we do have a look at updated, that will do. Update record, then you can see it's actually what it's written for you here. And if it's legacy, it will write the legacy equivalent. So it is ABC and legacy compatible. Okay, so that is the first update, and that should save lots of people a lot of time, and also ensure that they are loading efficiently. Coming back to what I just said a minute ago, because one of the questions we do get, which is fine, that's why we have the weekly webinars and we're here on the email and Skype and so on. One of the questions you get asked quite a lot is, my calendar's going slow, can you take a look, and so on and so forth, and that's fine. And we usually find, because the calendar has evolved, as I say, over, I would say the first one's got to be maybe 11 years old now, since its very first creation. And obviously, so much has changed over 11 years. So a lot of people are still using very early code, which we instructed them on how to do. So there's definitely no fault there. But the calendar has evolved. The loading has dramatically evolved, but some of that code hasn't. So by switching to having the calendar do it, then we will constantly try and refine that and get the maximum speed out of it. Not that speed's a particular issue, to be honest, but it just makes sense if we can try and help out. Next, what we've done, similar approach to the report control. So anybody who's using the latest report control, what we've done there is if we go back to our extension, we happen to have said, okay, this is file loaded, but remember it could be loading from a queue, maybe using Ultimate SQL, and you're querying your data, bringing it down into a queue. The calendar will monitor that queue, and anytime that queue changes, i.e. you've just gone and refresh your SQL query and so on, then anytime the queue changes, the calendar will automatically refresh. So you could be using, as I say, something like that. When you click on a calendar event, we've added, similar to the report control, a related record button. Now, what this will do is it will, as you click on the event, it will actually go and fetch the record associated with that event, if you want it to, of course, and bring it so it's the active record local to you in the buffer, which means you would have the whole record available to you should you need it. Pretty handy. The example I was just mentioning there is if you're using Ultimate SQL. So you've done a SQL query, you're loading ultimately from a queue, but that queue is still based upon some kind of primary table, be it some kind of calendar event or such. What this allows you to do is, as a navigate around the calendar, so i.e. clicking on different events, what it will actually do there is go and fetch the record. So I know that at any one time, that event is found for me, and I can trust the file buffer, and so on. So you've got that. So that's a similar approach as we've done to the. Let's just switch back to this, as we've done to the report control. So you're going to see a lot of similarities coming in, not just to one of our products, to all of them. Okay. Any questions on that so far?
I don't see any questions. Oh yeah, I like the. I always wonder what this was. Now I know what it is.
The related record.
Shows up in the report control too. Yeah.
It does, and it's. I mean, I don't know if you still use it, but the report control, for example, you could use data binding. Actually, the calendar does support data binding, so we could actually bind it straight to the likes of Outlook if we wanted to, and so on and so forth. So it supports data binding, and what we mean by that is we actually bypass Clarion's dictionary, Clarion's file drivers. You bypass Clarion really on that, and we bind the actual entity straight to the ADO object, so that basically it really is the fastest way of getting the data. But of course, just like that SQL query we mentioned a minute ago, what this does is you've still got some kind of primary table, and if you're in your application, the likelihood is you're going to want to double click and bring up some kind of form and allow them to edit that particular event and so on. Obviously with restrictions, and we take all that as read, but you're going to want to bring up some kind of form, which means you would naturally bring the record or fetch the record locally, call an update form with request equals change record, perform your update like so. So we'll change this to say 11 to 12 and push it back to the calendar and so on. Well, basically that's what the related record will do. It will do all the write the code for you, so you don't have to worry about doing a fetch, you don't have to worry about synchronizing back to the calendar, so on and so forth. If it knows what record and it knows basically where the data is coming from, then we can write, as much of the code as possible. So we seem to have gone full circle from all those years ago saying we'll never do your data I/O to you, to now doing all of the data I/O. Okay, so that's the first one. Hopefully a lot of people will find it beneficial.
Yep. I'm going to also comment that I like the where you can push the button and it fills in everything, all the defaults for you from the example. That's really nice.
Well, I have to
admit, I did that so you didn't have to keep doing it, right, over and over again.
Well, even in the example application, there's a few procedures there, and there was no way I was doing all those fields.
There you go.
Yeah, so it was a case of I'm going to create a little button, and genuinely, I have found a lot of people take that particular table as basically the basis for theirs, and even the update form. And that was never my naivety again all those years ago, but it was never the intention. It was purely an example to be shipped and to provide instruction. So if people can use it, brilliant, all the better.
Yeah, you just have to know your market of lazy Clarion programmers.
Well,
if someone's already done it, then I don't need to do it again.
I wouldn't say that, but my knowledge has definitely grown, and yeah. Over the years, I have not grown to know what you seem to like. So let's put it that way. Okay, so that's in the first build. As you can see, I've just demonstrated it. So that's in the first build. Now I think is Marta here. I'm sure he is because I know he's waiting for it. No, yep. And one of the things we've got is, let me just quickly cover the list, just to whet your appetite, and then we'll show some. Okay, so the order of them are the data I/O, which we've just demonstrated. So without code, that's done. The equivalent, again for a report control and in a Clarion browse, you've got the equivalent of a Browse No Records button. What that means is if you added a Browse No Records button to a window, linked it to your browse, then of course as you navigate and depending on what you're doing on the browse, it would enable and disable the buttons automatically. It's the same on the calendar. The right click already works that way. As you set these right click options up in the calendar, so insert change delete is there, but if I right click here, two of them are disabled. That code is in the calendar. It knows if it's on an event and not on an event, and it will disable accordingly. But we do need buttons to also do that same task. So that's what you're going to get. So basically, the equivalent of the Browse No Records button. We call them dependent buttons. The report control has this, and we call them basically dependent buttons. And these will be event dependent. So you'll add a button on the wherever you need it, and as you navigate around, there's options to automatically add it to the right click menu for you. And as you navigate around, you won't have to worry about the button enabling, disabling. It will be automatic, just as we can see like that change button is there. And speaking of insert change delete, we are going to give you the insert change delete. Essentially, what we're going to really do is treat the calendar as a browse. It's a calendar control, but from that type of functionality, we're treating it as a browse. So you will have your insert change delete buttons, you will have your dependent button or a Browse No Records button equivalent of, and so on and so forth. So you will have that, and that's coming, like I say, on the very first release, Monday. What have I got? That's that. Date lookup. This isn't done, but it will be, so don't worry, Marty. And we provide some useful date lookups because it's got a pretty decent date picker, as you can see, a date picker control. We provide some date lookups, so that's great. We can put that in, do the 22nd, or we can ask it to give us a range of dates back, and it will fill in 2. Or we could actually ask it to give us a queue of dates. So we need that, the 10th, the 13th, the 25th, and the 21st. And it will return you the maximum dates, but it will also return you a queue of the dates that have been selected. So a handy little tool which comes in good. But one thing's glaringly missing off that, and we have it in our software, so we are aware of it, is if I was going into an entry for a date of birth, I've got a lot of navigating to do to jump back to 1972. Yes, that's my year. So we're going to, in this area here, the bottom left, and Marty, I'm sorry they're not in for today, but they will be on Monday, so don't worry. You're going to just get some quick navigation buttons. So there'll be a spin/drop down of the years, so you can quickly change the year. Obviously, the date picker will change accordingly, and you will have a back and forward month. You've technically got them there, but we will put basically a set of navigation there to allow you to quickly jump back and forward years and months, and select a year as well. So that's just a quick change to that built-in screen. Okay, that's a lookup. We've covered the dependent buttons. One thing which I don't think people make a lot of use of, so again we're going to, it's built into there, is some people might have an appointment. I know some of the systems I've worked on for clients will use the calendar and then want to send out an email invitation. The calendar has a method in there to create you your ICS file, which is, I forget what it actually stands for, but basically if you've ever received an email and it's got basically do you want to accept and so on and so forth, and it pops the actual thing into your calendar as whatever the subject is. So for the example of appointment for staff 1 here, and we might say, okay, what we want there is to receive that in an email. I open it and it automatically attaches itself into my calendar with all the details accordingly, filled in for us. That's done via an international standard called ICS, or I think there's another letter acronym for it, but basically there's already the methods in there in the calendar to do it, so we're going to make that even easier, a quick option to allow you to automatically add that to your right click. So again, trying to maximize the things what are already actually in the calendar. Reminders. We've done some work in the reminders here, which we'll demonstrate, and we've also got a nice enhancement coming. Calendar supports reminders. Which one are we on? Just let me go to the existing one. Sorry about this. Okay, and we're going to demonstrate this in a second as well. So you've got reminders. What we mean by that is you've got a built-in code jot reminder. So we're all used, if you ever used Outlook, you've got this kind of reminder. You can have a more friendly one, which is our own built-in reminder here. So we can go to that. We can snooze. So let's say snooze for 1 minute, and that one we want to open, and it will go off and open your update form accordingly, which is specified in the template, and which of course is subject to record locking. We do give you a couple of embed points to implement your own record locking. I have my own flavor, if you will, of doing record locking for network systems, and it does pass through that on the way into the update, and on the way out it unlocks it accordingly. So so basically from that reminder window we can do we've got those reminders. And last but not least is you could have your own custom reminder window. So this, you might not like any of the ones we've done. You can paint your own, and it's got all the functionality to do that. Well, what we're going to do, and I'll demonstrate this now, is we can link this automatically to one of the other CodeJock controls, which is the pop-ups, what pop up in the system tree. So basically, we'll demonstrate. Let's do that now. Basically, well, one of the things we want out of this build is to show a lot more integratability. So we've got the integrate into the suite controls pop-up. Okay, we'll put that in. There's going to be an integration, but this will come in the second half, so in 2 weeks' time. The integration for the reminders to your text message. So we're going to use, obviously, we've got a task class within our chill cat wrapper, but what it will do is, I'll show you very similar implementation as we're going to do now for the suite controls. All it will do is just ask you a couple of questions in the template, and when a reminder triggers, it will go off and send you the text automatically. So the whole idea is we try and get away from having to do a lot of code and so on. So let's change one of these. In fact, how are we doing for time? I think I've already done one. Oh, sorry, it's there. Can't see for looking. Pop-up reminders. So what we've got here then is I've added an extension. I've added our suite controls wrapper template. What I also do want to just say, as much as possible, well actually all of our wrapper templates can stand alone on their own. So if you've got the calendar and you only want to stick with the capabilities of the calendar only, that's all you need. Just what I said before, we just showed all the reminders and so on and so forth. They're all built into just the calendar only. What we're showing here is some more integrations. We're starting to make more integrations into our other products, but of course they are purely optional. If you don't have the other products, well, don't use them. Simple as that. If you do have them, let's make sure you get the most out of them. So we've added the suite controls, which contains a pop-up entry. I've gone to my calendar. Oh, sorry, I've added a pop-up control to the extensions. Not really much to say. Just one second, go. Sorry about that. Added a pop-up control. Not filled in any of the. Just gone with the defaults. Not really fine-tuned it at all. Okay, so pop-up control is just telling you about it. We want it in the bottom right, and it can be moved by the user. And we're going to go for an Office 2016 theme. All standard, I think. Not sure the theme was the standard one, but I've not changed anything else. The idea is least work as possible. So add the extension. Let's go to our calendar. Go across to where we turn the reminders on. Quite a few options now, as you can see. And these are the options we just mentioned a minute ago. So the reminders aren't in use. You've got a CodeJock window, you've got the Noyantis window, or you've got your own window, which is your custom event handling. The new option is use a CodeJock pop-up. So we're going to use that. It tells you that what you've got to do. You've got to add the global, which we've done. You've got to add a pop-up, which we've done. Note down the object name. We've got a link to the third party, which we've done. That will actually probably change. I think I'll put that entry onto here. And yeah, I think that's really it. Yeah, I think that's really it. We can fine-tune it because obviously that window was all in English. Don't worry about multilingual. You can change any of those settings to be any wording you like. So, for example, what is it in your language for the word day? Jour in French, but not sure about others, and so on. But basically, you know, you can change all the particular items and the icons, of course, and so on. But yes, so all I've gone to set the defaults. I've just set CodeJock pop-up, and on my third party, this entry will actually move over to that other tab before Monday. It's fragmented there. It makes sense to put it to the other. It will prompt you for that particular entry. That's it. That's the only change we have to do. No coding. We run this example, and there's our pop-up in the corner with the normal buttons. So just as you would expect, dismiss and open. So we want to dismiss that. This is A, and we can see A has got the reminder icon on it. If I dismiss, that is now gone, which I've dismissed that reminder. If I was to open, B is just triggered. If I open B, and there I am, and I can change it accordingly. So 11 to 11:15. I can recall those reminders should I need to. There's only B now, of course. We can snooze it, and it doesn't give you a prompt on here for how long to snooze it. So the template will prompt you for what your default snooze is. I said 5 minutes, so that will snooze for 5 minutes. If I was to add that reminder back on again, it's just triggered because, of course, we've gone past it. So that's why it's just re-triggered. That's as simple as it is to implement that particular feature. Add the pop-up, change your reminder from what you're currently using, i.e. the Noyantis reminder window and so on, and just change it to use a pop-up. And that's it. Oh, and have the pop-up extension, of course, and you'll be able to have that. And that is compatible, obviously, when your calendar's open here, but it's also compatible to when the reminder extension is added to the application frame. So what I do in my applications is, yes, I will have a procedure which has got a calendar on there, but I will also have the extension on the app frame which does the loading of the events as well. So the user might be off using the application, looking at a list of patients or so on or whatever, and not actually go into the calendar, but your events will still trigger and still pop up accordingly, but they'll just come up in the fashion of a little pop-up in the corner, like we're all used to with, say, Outlook, that kind of thing. Obviously, that's there now. Got that now. And the SMS or text message. What's the universal? What do we call them? Do we call them SMS? Do we call them text message? What do you normally call them?
I'd go with text message.
Text message. Okay, well, because one of the task classes of Chilcat, which is what it will use, is SMS. So maybe I should really rename it so people understand it as text message. It supports, I think there's about 5 or 6 providers: Twilio, Plivo, Com API, Boom SMS, Bulk SMS. The work for text local is nearly done, and I think the simple. Click send. They seem quite a good one, quite cost effective as well. But yes, basically, it will work just like this. The only difference is you will want to record that the text has been sent. So say if I was to move this around and so on, we're going to get that re-triggering, of course. Now we wouldn't want text going out, too often. So what it will do there, it will send the text, it will come back to tell the calendar that it's been sent, and of course you should really be writing that back to your record so that you're not resending the text over and over again. So that is our reminders. Plenty more to go yet. Questions? Pete is asking, sorry. Pete is asking if the link to the browse is working now, and yes, it will do. It's in the example application. I still don't think it's your most efficient way, but basically what you can do, it's not in this example, just going to load it from the other example. Just loading it as soon as I can find it. Is you can have a calendar and you can link it to a browse. So basically it gets the data from here and populates the calendar. That's fine. You can do that, and that will be there's a bug in this one, but yes, Pete, it will be corrected. And you will also have, because that's a Clarion browse, and we've not used them for quite a while now because we use the report controls, you will have the link to the report control. So we will be able to take the data from that and send the data to that as well, which could come in handy. More on that in a second. And Mike, oh, he's actually mentioning you, John. So John, do you want to take that one?
I responded to it as it's a private message back.
Oh, okay, sorry. Right, okay, no, that's good then. Okay, so that was the reminders. So next is link to, okay. What's our next one? Keeping with the integrations, I think you'll like this one. Link to the property grid. And John, I notice you use a lot of the property grid on the right-hand side so that you can quickly maintain the properties. When we all use them in Clarion, we're looking at a window now with a property grid on the right-hand side, and we all go here every day to maintain the maintain our attributes here. Flat, the icon, so on and so forth. So what I've done here is just similar to the sorry, just waiting for this. Just similar to the suite controls, I've come here and I've added the property grid. Then we go to our calendar. So we have come to our window. I've added the property grid on the screen, but I've not done anything with it. Never go to the extensions on the screen because, especially not during a ClarionLive webinar, it seems to flicker quite a lot. I've not changed any of the settings. I've literally just added it to the screen. Did I even change it? Oh, I changed the class name, but that's it. Just add it and walk away. And then you go to the property grid, sorry, the calendar. Go across to our, get there eventually, property grid, and we're going to say, yes, we want to link the calendar to a property grid, and we'll just mention what the property grid is. And there we go, we've got a property grid. As I click on the individual items, then you will be able to maintain it there. Currently it's one way, but by Monday it won't be. It will be writing back. So if I was to go here, go and change that subject and change it to webinar, it won't do it now. But as you tab off, it will change that, which means in turn it will go off and change your table. So basically, it will save if you don't want them to pop up a form, or you just want to give them a quick change of the certain attributes and so on, then that's what we'll be able to do. So that will keep itself in sync depending on where you click. As you can see what I'm doing here, and we can see that is 10:15, which it is, of course. And I'll just bring that, and let's say it's not. Now it's till 12, and it's changed it till 12 accordingly. And the date. So basically it keeps itself in sync, all automatic. And there's no, the good thing for you guys is there's no code. It's all done automatically. So that's what we've purposely tried to do, and shield you from any of the nasty coding, so to speak. Yes, basically it's taking from the calendar, but it will also be putting back in the calendar. I always like to be open and honest, and that is a bit I was literally writing just before we came on air. So we're in touching distance. Another 1 hour's work, and that feature will be finished and be ready for testing. So that's good.
Yeah, that's really nice. I like that.
Yeah, I've got to give credit to yourself there. I mean, I came up a long time ago with the property grid link to a browse and said, oh, you could use this as like a lazy update form or a lazy view, if you will, of the fields in a browse, but never really pushed it. Dave Bratovich termed the phrase hot grid a long time ago, and we never really pushed much with the property grid. And then I haven't a clue why not, because I see some of your apps and you're using them more and more, and they are so practical, especially. And we digress, but there's a particular application we're working on. People on a Monday webinar will definitely be used to this. but I'm going to put the property grid into here. So say for the likes of a patient, it's only demo data, so not breaking any rules here. But I have, like here, you just saw that pop out. I have my fields, so I can put them, and have that, so it automatically folds back. So out, choose a zip code, and put it back. And I'm going to do exactly the same. If you wanted to, you could put your property grid in there. So if somebody wanted to quickly go and change that, I could do that, have the property grid slide out, change a particular setting, and go back. And I've just updated that record. So the property grid will be added to the report control, which is what we're looking at here. This is the report control. So the property grid will be added in exactly the same style as the calendar. It will be added to the report control as well, giving you the ability to basically change the data on the fly. If you wanted to, if you wanted to change, of course, you don't have to. You can have that grid set to be read-only. It's just a setting on the property grid. I could do that now. Set that to be read-only, and all these would be disabled. Still keep in sync, but just be disabled. And we've got all our settings. We can see that this has got our particular options against it. Our checkboxes should have a color picker. Yep. So it's pretty cool, pretty powerful. Oh, but yeah.
So the grid should update the.
The grid will update the calendar real time. It's just I haven't done the back. I just did it one way. As I say, too honest sometimes. But I was literally just doing that bit. It was lagging one behind, and it was the where I was generating the code was before the parent call and after. So I just corrected that before coming on air. And I mean, about 6 or 7 minutes before. That's how close. But now that's done, all I've now got to do is just basically we know we intercept the accepted of this. So if we was to change that reminder, say, sorry, on that one, we need a reminder and we would need it to be 120 minutes before, that kind of thing. Then as you change that, it will go and update the event immediately. So that will be a change which in turn will automatically trigger a file update and write it straight back to your file, all without writing any code.
Excellent, really nice.
So yeah, pretty powerful. So that's the property grid, and future release of the report control will have the exact same implementation, and you will apply it. The only thing actually I do want to give you before release is what content, because it might be that you don't want to change the reminder settings at this level here, or you never use the meeting or the private event type tokens, so you will be able to turn each one of these on and off accordingly. So that'll go basically on the extension where we say link to property grid. We will link it. Let me go to the end. There it goes. They will go in this section here. You'll have a series of checkboxes to say exactly what do you want to actually go into that property grid. So nice and simple. Okay, any questions on that? I've got a couple of questions actually. Marty, it looks like you have a finished example for the date picker colouring feature. Oh yes, sorry, Marty. Yes, we'll demonstrate that in a second, Marty. Yeah, good, thank you. You've just reminded me. There is a new example to do with the date picker. And then Rich has just asked off the wall question, does the CalendarPro control, if placed on a sheet in a Clarion window? A long time ago, I worked with an ActiveX that couldn't run correctly when placed on a tab or a sheet. No, it'll work fine. In fact, I can't demonstrate it on this because I'm working from home and it's not connected to my server. But what I also do, and the scheduler app will be getting this treatment. What I like to do, just a little tip here, and I'll even tell you how to accomplish the loading as well. What I like to do is, so the scenario goes, someone's in their appointment book, and someone's phoning up will say, in fact, we'll do it today. So we've got these for today. and someone phones up and they're saying, I can have an appointment today at 10 o'clock. So we click 10 o'clock and they're in the middle of booking the appointment, appointment for dental work, something like that. And then they say, oh, can we make that 11 o'clock? Now I can just change that to 11, but in reality, something is already in at 11 and I wouldn't know. So what, and we're going to be doing a schedule it, and I know Wengo's watching, so Wengo will be doing this next week. Wengo works for Noyantis, if anyone's wondering. Yeah, basically what I do is I give them an extra tab with a live view on there. And what that does is basically has a cut down version of the calendar just on the extra tab. So you've got the 11 o'clock here and so on, and basically maybe from subject down to the bottom corner, just for the day in question, pointless showing of the week and so on and so forth. It's just that you're making an informed decision on that day. So we put the calendar actually on there, and we paint any data, other data for that day on there. So you can say straight away, no, sorry, I can't give you 11 o'clock because we've got an appointment, but I can give you 11:30. That's fine, we'll take it, and they type in accordingly. So that's the idea behind that. So yes, it will work perfectly fine on a hidden tab, a subsequent tab, so on and so forth. Yeah, we do that. And for that, I mentioned how we do the loading. What I would do in that scenario to save having the load code repeated many times over, although it doesn't really matter now because the loading's done quite efficiently. But in our examples, we actually demonstrate how to pass the calendar class across to a source procedure. So we just have one centralized load routine which just takes some parameters. It loads it into the calendar being passed in and then basically passes it back. So one routine will load many different calendars. Whew, okay. I wasn't sure we'd have enough content. We've got more than enough. One of the things Marty just mentioned, one of the examples which we came up with, where's the latest, new C10, and it was a scenario, and so this is in the new example application, and it was to do with the date picker. Now, a date picker can be attached to a calendar, like so, and can control the calendar, gives the user, if you want, everything's parameterized, of course, if you want them to have that. So what can be handy is, they want an appointment on the Tuesdays, so you just highlight the Tuesdays accordingly, and so on. So that's one use of a date picker. You do have just a date picker view, like so. But what we've actually used it for, and it's come in handy, is to give the user ability to see if there's any work to be done for a particular day. So the scenario might be you've done some activity on a day and you've reconciled that activity. So that's great. But then a couple of days later, you go to it and unbeknown to you, somebody has gone and done some changes to some transactions on that day, which means your reconciliation is kind of null and void. So what we do in that scenario is we paint them a date picker, but showing them basically the days which has got activity and which hasn't, and which got work to do. So, for example, and it was Marty, I was explaining this to Marty in one of our Monday webinars, so we thought this would be a good example to show you guys. So we've just got a little Clarion browse underneath, and we can see like the 17th there is pending, and there it is in yellow. So it might be you'll go off in your application, you'll let them do a reconciliation, they'll print it out, they'll accept, yeah, that's good, that's passed, if you will. Set it to passed, and now it's green, which means, and the idea, of course, you want all of them to be. Oh, Marty, we'll miss a trick there. We should have had it when we click on one of those, it selects the record automatically. Yeah, need to do that. Of course, what you really want is everything to either look blank, so there's no activity, or green. But it does mean that when they come back in, they can see just the days that they're going to go and do work for. Just a little tip there for people of another use for the day picker. Okay, where are we up to? Oh, we're getting there now, guys. We're getting there. Mention the report control. Mention the property grid. Right. There's a facility in there. not in this one. I'm going to switch to our old one for recurring events. Now, these have been around for a long time, and basically the recurring feature of the code dot control is phenomenal. It's extremely good. So we can say, okay, we want to put maybe an appointment in here, give it a color, garish color, and we can say, I'll repeat here. We can say we want this to repeat. Now we're only going to create one record, and basically we save that record with a pattern. So how you want it to repeat, and the permutation of the patterns is really where it gets its strength. We've got simple ones like daily, so we can be okay. We just repeats every 2 days, but only on the weekdays. Don't include the weekends. And that's easy enough. Or we want to go monthly, weekly, very same. Monthly, we could say it's a day and it happens to be the first of the month all the time, or it happens to be the first weekday of the month, or the first Tuesday of the month, every 1 month, or every other month. So, and you can see that particular permutation even through to the years. And we can say, okay, the occurrence, we want the first Sunday of March every year. So you can see all the different permutations of the calendar, and all of that is just done on one record. So, for example, this one here, we've got the recurring icon. So I'm going to change all, and I'll take that 2 off. There you go. And all of them have changed. And if we look at our calendar going forward, now that's recurring events. So it covers it. We've covered that in the past. Now we have to do quite a bit of analysis. So we write practice systems, practice management systems, and so on. And one of the things you'll get with that is, that's great, but you want to do some analysis on the on that calendar. Well, if you were reading just going straight to your TPS or your SQL table, you wouldn't truly be able to do that, because one of them could be recurring, and just let me rerun that recurring. So one of them could be recurring, but then you need to cancel, so we'll delete that one. But we're not deleting all, we're just deleting one occurrence of it. So now we've created an exception to that pattern. So we've got one record repeating looks like it's every 2 days, and we've got one exception to that rule, which is Wednesday the 25th, and so on and so forth. If we was to try and do that via reading TPS, you'd have to rework all the formula to be able to know the different permutations. Well, you've got methods built in to the class, and so on. I'm not really going to go into them, but what I thought I'd do to give you a hand in some of the analysis is, and we've done this with the report control, so you give me the idea to do it for the calendar, we give you add it to the chart. So just the same as we've done with the property grid, again, no code required, just the same as we've done with the property grid. We add a chart control, and we go to our window, we add our chart, and just make that a little bigger, smaller, and make that a bit bigger. I don't know why I'm making it that small on this. We add a chart onto the screen, don't do any settings, and then go to our calendar, which you've seen as we've done many times today. Just waiting for it, there we go. All the way across to chart, similar as we've got here, link to the chart, which control is it, because of course you might have a few on the screen, might have a few charts for that matter, which chart, and what content type. Now I'm only doing free at the moment. There's loads of permutations, and if anyone's interested in, think, I could really make use of this, by all means, just drop me a message, and I'll get it in the, as long as it's there, as long as it's in the data, then we'll get it out for you, and we'll add it as an option on here. So the idea being that we can go to this, and we can just say, this will give us a total events per day or total events per hour. So for example, I'm going to go, we'll show a couple. Just give me the events per day. So we've got a chart at the bottom. and we've only got one day. I'm going to put one on Wednesday. Very crude date, so ignore that. So now we've got one on the 23rd, one on the 25th, put another one on Wednesday. And of course, it's real time, as you can see. If I was to drag that, move it to there, then your chart is repainted accordingly. So whenever the calendar changes, the chart will change accordingly. So we can see, that's make sure that was right. Yep, 23rd, 24th, 25th, and you get the idea. Another one, really could have added two then actually. In fact, let's do that. Oh no, it can only be linked to one. Makes me wonder whether we should allow it to be linked to more than one chart, but one step at a time. We'll do it per hour, if you will. So you're analysing when your busy periods are within your within your data, if you will. And of course, the good thing is of this is you wouldn't necessarily need to have the chart visible. You could have the chart hidden, and then when it's done this, which is an embed point for it, there's a built-in method to save that straight to an image. So you could save that to an image and put it straight to a report. So you could technically have your calendar as part of your report screen hidden. You could have your chart linked to the calendar hidden. You press print, it goes off and loads the calendar accordingly with a date range which you want it to have. It goes and automatically, as you see here, creates a chart, saves it to an image, and then you put it straight onto your report. You've not really done any analysis. The templates have done all the work for you. So yeah, we can see hours here. So 9 till 10, 10 till 11. I actually changed these tooltips. So the tooltips do give you a bit more description. So we've got two here, 2 at 9, 1 at 10, and 1 at 1. We'll look down there, and there's a 1. So if I was to move that down to there, it's 4 p.m. as you can see. 3 p.m. So that's the automatic link to the chart. And as I say, those can be saved. There's lots of different flavors of charts: bar, line, pie. Yeah, there's loads. The charting product's a whole product in its own right, but those can go straight to, you can get the data out of that. And it will, to go back to the recurring, it will take the recurring factors into account. So if we did have a recurring event spanning all of these days, what it actually does is it takes the data out of the active range. So if I was to go out of the calendar, if I was to go to the 23rd, 24th, we know there's other days with other times on there, but it will only take whatever you're looking at in the calendar. So as long as the recurring ones are loaded into the calendar, and any exceptions, of course, then you'll get that straight into a queue. You can populate that queue yourself. Sorry, you can analyze the queue yourself if you like, but the chart will automatically do it and paint accordingly. Okie dokie. I think one last one. This won't be in Monday's release, but it will be in, like I say, another 10 days or so, for a couple of weeks, and it will be in the release. And that is what we've seen today is, let's just go back. You've seen how we do the links. So link to the suite controls, link to the property grid, and link to the chart, which we've just seen. It'll be implemented exactly the same fashion. Now, I'm not going to be able to demonstrate, but hopefully you'll be able to imagine. We've done it in applications, but we're just going to write the code. We're going to wrap it all up and write the code for you. And what that is what you'll be able to do is tie your calendar directly to the first release will just be Google Calendar, but later releases, only because we're going to update the Toolcat library, later releases will include the Office 365 calendar as well. So basically you'll be able to have a seamless link between the two. This calendar isn't, and that's why I need another 10 days. We've done it in applications, but we've just not added it to the wrapper template. It's working mighty fine in the other ones, but we just need to wrap it up and put it into this. But to show you it actually in action, let's just go to the where is it? We also open a folder here. 1 second. So we're making use of our Chilcat library for the comms. So the text message, which I was mentioning here, will go out via, I'll change that to text message, will go out via that, but so will the Google. So we can see here, sorry, let me move that across. So we've got Google Calendar there. This is in raw mode. You won't have any of this. You will just have your nice calendar. You will move an appointment from 9 till 10, and Google Calendar will move 9 till 10 accordingly. So, but if I was to just have a look at this in raw mode, there's our meeting here. So if I was to just move that 9 till 10, go and re-download, only to go for updates since the last one. So nothing's changed. I'll move that 10 till 11, and there it is. And I will just manually go and change it back to 9 till 1 o'clock. Okay. Hopefully, will that refresh, or do I need to refresh it myself? No, I have to refresh it myself. Well, there, basically, that's your link to Google. So we're going to be using that library, but again, you won't have to write any code. It will have the full seamless link. So you will just have your calendar like so, and the Google Calendar will reflect accordingly. So that's kind of, let me just check my list. Right click, oh, we mentioned the right click actions. Yep, and that's in Mondays. Mainly the things you'll be waiting for is the link to the report control will not be in Mondays. The link to Google Calendar will not be in Mondays. But everything else you've either seen or we spoke about, yes, you will get in Monday's update. And I think that puts us to about time. Any questions?
I don't see any questions.
Everyone's nodded off.
Calendars are cool. You've done a lot of good work here to make it easier for everybody to implement really nice calendars.
We have, genuinely, we have. I mean, yeah, you've seen this many times over. This is an application we're working on with the calendaring and so on, and yeah, it works pretty well and so on. And the users love it. Makes it nice and easy for them to use.
Yeah, it's really impressive. Another update to do.
Yes.
One to look forward to.
Mark saying, what do you need to purchase to support the messaging and the Google interfaces? That's a good question actually. Yeah, it goes to show. Okay. You will require for any of the comms. I still go back to what I said a minute ago. A few minutes ago, if you only ever want to use the calendar and you don't want to use the chart or the property grid or the pop-ups, then fine, just use the calendar. That's perfect. But a lot of, I would say, a very high percentage, when they buy the products, they will buy not just the calendar, they will buy the full suite. It makes it cost effective, for obvious reasons. I think the price of, by the time you bought 4 single products or 4-point-odd single products, you've paid for the full suite, which is 13 products, so you might as well. So if you want the likes of the property grid, then you will require the property grid template and the control, of course. If you want the likes of the suite controls, then you would need the controls template and the suite controls wrapper, that kind of thing. But if you've got the whole bundle, Suite Pro, then you kind of got all those. Then, if you want the communications, the comms, then you will need what we refer to as the Chilcat library. It's not CodeJock, it's another library. It's humongous, the actual size of the library. I know I've said this many times, but let me just open up the Chilcat library. Chilcat, that's them. And they ship basically a set of what we call base classes. And there are something like 96, cover a whole multitude of functionality. OAuth 1, OAuth 2, binary data, sockets, string manipulation, JSON, XML, email, SMTP, POP, mailboxes, all the IMAP, all the things you would expect. You will require that control and the wrapper template. So now the example app, which is probably really out of date actually. This has got an update coming to it as well. We cover a load of the base classes, really out of date, but we also cover, what we do then is we have what we call task classes. You've probably heard me mention them on the news groups and so on and so forth. And the task classes are nothing to do, they're based on Chilcat. They're based on the base Chilcat libraries and classes, but we then wrap a load of things up for you to make it dead easy. So for example, that connection to Google, that behind the scenes is making use of quite a few things. PFX library, from memory I think it is, PFX library, JSON, OAuth 2, string builder. There's probably 6, 7, maybe 8 base classes going on behind the surface. You don't have to worry about it, because if there's a particular interface which we think would benefit from a task class, then we wrap it all up for you, make it dead simple. So that is one method call, that is connect, and that's your connection into Google. We want to download the events, we download, and it will populate a queue, and all the structures are created for you. So this is where the power of the linking the Chilcat to the calendar will come in, because we will make use of all these task classes which are already written by us, obviously, but which are already done, tried and tested classes as well at that. So you will require the Chilcat library available from Chilcat, and you will require the Chilcat template. Kind of caught me on the hop actually, but I'll tell you what we'll do. What are we on now? 27th. For the next, let's say 2 weeks. For the next 2 weeks, we'll run a 20% off the Chilcat wrapper class, if anyone's interested. Because by 2 weeks, you'll be able to have the calendar and the Chilcat, and all you'll do is just tick the box and have it talking to it. So I will create, we'll call it, I'll make a note now, and I'll add it from tonight. Chilcat 20 will be the code. There you go. For that, there'll be a coupon code, a discount code, sorry, to go on to the Noyantis store, and it will be valid against the purchase of the Chilcat wrapper template. Not the control itself, you need to go and purchase that from Chilcat, but yeah, that's a mark. You will require the Chilcat control. Good thing is when you buy Chilcat, you don't just get the ActiveX, you actually get the whole lot. You get iOS tools, you get all sorts. It's just one big library. I think it's $289 at the back of my mind. And with that 20% off our product, it probably brings it down to just over $300. So you're probably looking at an outlay of around $600. But for that, you don't just get SMS. You get all of those base classes, which, as I say, is phenomenal. And you get a load of task classes. So Google's one of them, Google Tasks, sending the SMS. So here's one. I'll connect to that. We'll type in ClarionLive webinar. So that's a connect method, a send. Just quickly turn my phone up. There you go. Text has just come, and a disconnect. And it will monitor the status and so on if you wanted to, and so on and so forth. So you'll get that. You get lots of others as well. You get, oh, that's not actually in there yet. I'm just doing those. You get a QuickBooks Online integration, Zero accounting, Pay Simple integration, VTrack, vehicle tracking, and so on. Where are you on DocuSign? Greg's asking in your queue, in the development queue. Yep, fair point, fair question. Calendar is next, as you can see, and then straight on the heels of that is a command bar update, which is progressing very nicely. That's just a few days. So I would realistically, let's say if 2 weeks puts us in, let's say by mid-April, both of those will be released. the new calendar update in both parts and the command bar update. Then the Chilcat is it's got a one update pending. So Greg, if I was to say, I could probably get the beta of the DocuSign in the Chilcat by after mid-April to late April. That's quite realistic. So I don't know if that's okay or that's too late, but yeah, basically, and it's gonna get it's getting a that's okay. That's okay. That's hopefully okay. It's going to get a task class. So just like this, see whether yeah, this is for booking deliveries and so on and so forth, that kind of thing. I just insert some dummy one. That's gone off to my phone, and that's going to go and book a particular delivery and so on. It'll get that type of that kind of interface on it. So you will get a connect method. We've really made it as simple as possible. You know, for all of these, the principle is you learn one of the task classes, and you've kind of learned them all. So yeah. An update thoughts on Mark's just asking on updates thoughts on ThirdLight, Twilio, and PubNub. Well, Twilio's there, so that's there now. In fact, I've just demonstrated it. So yeah, that's there, as is Bulk SMS, Com API, as Plivo, and Boom SMS. So really, you choose the gateway which is more beneficial to yourself. PubNub, ThirdLight will go in next. ThirdLight is an online image storage container, and that will probably go in the same release as the DocuSign, to be honest, Mark. So again, I would say mid-April to late April on that. And the reason I know that is we've already done the ThirdLight. I can't demonstrate it because it's somebody's system and they are, you know, it's private, so I can't demonstrate that visually running. But we already have the that ThirdLight integration working via our Chilcat library. We just haven't created a task class because I thought it was just a one-off. They've now come back and want more work, which is great for us. So that's going to turn into a task class anyway, which is good news for yourself. So let's say up to a month, you know, because it won't be started for the next 2 weeks, you know, 2.5 weeks. It won't be started before then, and then you know, give us a couple of weeks to get them in. Okay. Any other questions?
All right. Last call for questions. No more questions.
No more questions.
Unless someone types one in, then we'll.
So hopefully you've seen, you know, it's been a while, but the next calendar update you can see it's going to be, well, it is. It's already quite a sizable update. There's a lot of work gone into it.
Yes, I can see some changes I want to make into my apps already. So very cool, very nice.
Well, I don't know if you use any analysis for charting and so on and so forth, but you know, if you wanted to give any patterns of when are your peak times, maybe you use your calendar for delivery schedules, delivery points and stuff like that. You can see when people are booking and not booking and things like that.
Yeah, that's pretty nice, that link right there. Yeah, there's several things in here I think I could update too, including the property credit, of course.
Of course. Mark's just asking, is a Pay Simple complete? And it is. Yeah, there's a Pay Simple interface already in there. One of the task classes. So again, similar type approach. Connect, add a payment or add a recurring payment or modify an existing payment. So connect, and then a method for download. It will populate a queue or a group structure for you. You just manipulate that structure and then call the upload. So, and it's the same with all the accounting interfaces and the Google interfaces and the rest of the interfaces.
All right, I'm going to grab the screen back.
Yep, fire away. Can't believe my voice has lasted this long. I'm actually struggling a little today.
Oh no. All right, so coming up soon. So next week, update it, launch for reals, probably. We hope. We'll see. I hope so. It's so close. It's so close. And I'm getting notifications when people update things too. So I'm looking forward, Andy, to you updating calendar if I get the
calendar. I will. During Mondays, you can hopefully set me up with the updated then on mine, if that's okay.
Sure can. Yeah, absolutely. Then you can post it right there.
We can do the release there and then.
All right, sounds good. Okay. I guess that's it. People are liking it. We're all good. Everybody stay safe. Stay 6 feet apart when you're wandering about.
Don't sneeze on anybody.
Yeah, I think that's probably.
I kind of hope we don't do that anyway.
I'd say that goes without saying, but maybe it doesn't.
Well, you know.
Don't sneeze. Yeah, okay. I won't.
Okay, good.
I personally will not sneeze on anyone.
I hope everybody stays safe, stays well, and stays sane in this crazy world that we're living in right now.
They are strange times, that has to be said.
Yep, for sure. And next week, everything, though, goes on as planned. Noyantis on Monday, open webinar Wednesday, and a talk on Thursday. So thanks, everybody, for watching, and we will see you guys around. Take care, everybody.
See you next week.
Bye.
Cool. Cheers. Bye. Thank you.